You're applying to be an expendable?
You read through the paperwork?
Yeah. I should have read through it.
You didn't read them?
There really isn't anything that can capture my imagination in a movie like a good old-fashioned sci-fi. Whether we're talking about classics like Star Wars or The Terminator, or newer imaginary visions like The Creator and Arrival. Science fiction takes the ideals or fears of our current days and cranks them up to 11. They show us a future that we want to happen or a future we wish would never happen. A good sci-fi plays in that beautiful place in between. Such is also the case in the new movie from the Parasite creator Bong Joon Ho, Mickey 17. A movie that examines the human condition, asks ethical questions about the value of life and heavy thoughts about what makes a person, and if there truly is a greater meaning to existence. With a heavy dose of comedic antics just to cut the existential dread. The movie follows a crew member of a human expedition vessel on a voyage to another planet to colonize. That crew member is Mickey Barnes, played by Robert Pattinson, who got his life threatened by a loan shark after he and his friend Timo, played by Steven Yeun, failed to pay owed money and now need to leave the planet to save their lives. Without any real skills for this expedition, Mickey signs up to become an expendable. Basically, a living human test subject who gets his genetic code saved in a machine to be reprinted in an event of his expected departure from this life. And so, he dies over and over and over and over again, until his 17th version doesn't die when falling into a ravine filled with what could only be assumed to be flesh-eating creatures. But his expedition thinks he's dead, and when he finds his way back to his dwelling, he finds his 18th version being alive at the same time, completely shattering his belief in this scientific reincarnation. This, however, is a high offense, having a so-called duplicate, so Mickey and Mickey have to not only set aside their differences, which there are despite them being genetically identical, and deal with an expedition leader who sees himself as a deity and humanity's hope for survival, all while trying to understand the new icy planet humanity finds itself on, as well as the true nature of its furry inhabitants. This movie wasn't quite what I expected. In a good way, I guess. I was expecting to see a satirical science fiction comedy with some absurd deaths, laughter galore, and zany characters giving little thought about their crew member dying repeatedly. What I got instead was a thoughtful, introspective film about what constitutes a human life, its worth, and how we can be quick to normalize class differences and the words of the so-called elite, which in this movie very much is to be taken as a literal gospel. It does all of the above, yet wraps it in a comedic package that makes all of the heady and heavy existentialism easy to swallow.
Oh, got it. Saving me for the kiddos. What a great mom.
The characters are what's most important in this movie. While the movie is told from the perspective of the 17th version of Mickey Barnes, we see how he and his past versions, despite them being unique in their own way, have some common ground and everlasting effects. His girlfriend Nasha, played by Naomi Aki, loves every version of him, and even when there are two Mickeys, she doesn't choose one over the other because she knows that they are both aspects of the same person. The movie also asks questions like what makes a person, nature versus nurture, just taken to the extreme. Because if all of the versions of Mickey are genetically identical, the only difference between them are their experience up to the prior version, coupled with what they themselves have experienced. In my opinion, the ultimate question that Bong Joon Ho wants to ask is, what is the true value of a person's life if they can be reprinted? Is that person still the same person? And did that other life that was lost matter in the long term, even if we can just reprint and reprint and reprint? And if that's the case, is it just the ultimate law of the universe that life sucks and then you die? Jeez, that's a bit morbid now, isn't it? And a bit depressive too. Well, if that's the case, let's make sure we laugh our way through life then, yeah? Mickey 17 is based on a novel of the same name from 2022, written by Edward Ashton. And while I haven't read the book and I don't know how faithful it is in the portrayal of the characters, I can't help but feel that the villain of this film, the expedition's leader, the failed politician Kenneth Marshall, played by Mark Ruffalo, bears a striking resemblance in his mannerisms, larger-than-life persona, and his delusions of grandeur with a certain, let's just say, recently elected president. I mean, come on, even his followers shows up in red caps that might as well have said well, you get the point. And while I don't think Mickey 17 reaches the same heights and social commentary that made Parasite so irresistible, this movie is still a joy and a blast to watch, with some poignant observation told with a morbid sense of humor. And while some of the subject matter leaves you contemplating about the greater meaning of life, you still come out of the movie smiling and having had a good time. Therefore, I give this film a solid 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. So, the whole concept of the movie revolves around what is essentially a human printer, but we never see a realistic printer issue in this movie at all. I mean, even the most advanced printers today experience problems like loading queues that result in extra copies. So could a case of multiples not have happened by accident before? Also, ink cartridge issues are common, resulting in color issues. Could one of the Mickeys have come out tanner or more pale? Different eye colors or what? Boo! Unrealistic! 0 out of 10. Next movie, please!